Just want to say welcome to everybody. Again, thank you so much for taking the time this morning to join us in our Medicare and estate planning seminar. So I'm going to start my video. Oh, sorry guys. All right, here we go. Awesome. So I want to introduce myself. My name is Annette Murillo. I am one of the co-owners at Hedka Group Insurance Services. We are located in the city of Bell. So we've been in the city for over 30 years. We are a full bilingual Spanish and English health insurance agency. We help families from newborns all the way into our seniors coming into their Medicare age. So we are very proud to be able to serve all types of clients, both in our community and communities all around LA and Orange County. And I want to introduce Sophia. Sophia?
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Sophia Kim Sakamoto, and I am an estate planning and probate attorney. Our office is in Buena Park, California, and we also have another office in Mission Viejo and a satellite office in Commerce to assist you with any estate planning or probate needs. We do have a paralegal who speaks Spanish, and I speak Korean as well.
Awesome.
All right.
Great.
So I'll just get right into it. During the presentation, we're not going to be handling questions. If you do have a question, type it in the chat box below, and then we'll answer them at the end, time permitting. Just a short disclaimer, this is for information only and not to use the presentation, only for personal use. All right, so how to avoid probate. This is kind of like a basics on estate planning and what you need to know right now, because I get a lot of questions from clients who are very interested in, what if I get sick? What if something happens to me? There is an urgency, especially with the situation, a lot of people getting sick, and maybe they have businesses and they're worried. So hopefully this presentation will give you the information that you need. Go ahead. Really, the goal of estate planning is to avoid going to the probate courts, because right now I just had a conversation with the other attorneys in the Orange County courts the other day, and everything's closed right now. So if you do have something pending in the probate courts, you're probably looking at like June and July to get things back up and running again. Meanwhile, with trust, they can still be administered outside of the courts. But really the goal of estate planning is you're basically putting down in writing what's going to happen if something, who's going to take over and manage your assets, what's going to happen with your assets, where is it going to be distributed if you or your spouse is not able to handle things. The general rule in California is that if you have assets that are just in your name and it's over $166,000, then it may go into probate when you die if there's nothing in writing. Because if it's a large amount, the title company won't release it. The banks won't release this without a court order, and the court order, of course, is probate. This calculation does not include joint accounts or maybe assets with named beneficiaries. So if you have a property just in your name, if you have a bank account just in your name, if all of those are over $166,250, it will be in probate. Next slide. Okay, so, but you may have heard about the court process. Well, probate is when you pass and then it has to go through the court process of, figuring out who's the heirs, where does this go? A conservatorship court process is when you're alive, but you are sick, you're in a coma, you have dementia, you cannot handle your finances, then the court appoints someone to manage your assets for you, right? Signing the checks, selling property. Someone's got to make that decision. And when nothing's written down, only the court can make those decisions. Of course, going to court is expensive. It takes a long time. So we are trying to prepare the documents in advance, not to go to court. Go ahead. So that's why we're setting up a revocable living trust. I recommend this if you have real property, if you own a house, if you have kids under 18. A trust may be something that can benefit you in terms of writing down who's going to manage things if you can't do it. Who's going to hold the assets in trust until your kids reach certain ages. It's really important to fund the trust, which means titling things now into the name of the trust, not in your name. You still have control over those assets. It's just that it's in the name of the trust. It makes that transition from you to someone else a lot more easier. You don't have to go through court. It's simply paperwork. Like something happens to you, then the next trustee, they just sign a paper that says like, you passed, now I'm the next trustee and I'm going to manage those assets now. Next slide. So anything else that's not put into a trust, keep in mind, we want to keep that of low value, at least under 166,000, because just because you set up a trust, if you don't put anything in the name of the trust, it could still be in probate. And a will alone does not avoid probate. A lot of people think, oh, I have a will, I'm not going to be in probate. The will might say, oh, I give my assets to, X, Y, and Z, but if it's not in the name of the trust, which means it's in your name, and if it's a substantial value, it could be in probate still. Next slide. So the goal is to transfer most assets into the trust. The way that the trust and will work together, because I get that question a lot as well. People ask me, well, what's the difference between a trust and a will? If you have assets in a trust, whether you're incapacitated or you're not here anymore, the trustee takes care of whatever's in the trust. Anything outside still in your name, the will covers that. And in a special will that we do together with the trust, we say, I give all my assets not in the trust to my trust. It's a backup document, this type of will. It's called a pour-over will. And maybe you don't have anything outside of the trust, then it'll never get used. But if you did, like you forgot about this old bank account, you got an inheritance, you forgot to put it in the trust, at least this will catch it, put it in the trust, and now it's distributed the way the trust says. If you didn't have this will, then it just goes by the default laws of California. Next slide. So other documents to have in place, a financial power of attorney. I recommend this for anyone over 18 to have a will, at least, a power of attorney for finances and one for healthcare. You may have heard this term, power of attorney. Well, how is that used with the trust and a will? The will handles things outside of the trust, but a will is not effective when you're alive. That's where the power of attorney comes in, for when you're alive, but you can't handle your finances. Maybe you're sick, you're in a coma, you're at the hospital. Who's going to pay the mortgage bills? Who's paying the utilities? Who's signing those checks? What if your house needs to be sold? Somebody needs to have the authority to sign for you. That's what this financial power of attorney does. It gives someone else the authority to handle your assets. If you didn't have this in place already, and you're in it now, you're in the hospital, you might have to go through court, which is a conservatorship. But the trustee, the executor, attorney, they could all be the same person. They're just handling different assets. One, a trust asset over here, and then non-trust asset over here. Power of attorneys, though, they expire at death. Once you pass, the power of attorney is no longer valid. That's when the will takes over. Next slide. Advanced Healthcare Directive. This is also really important right now because if you're at the hospital, I've heard of people going on ventilators, being in a coma with the COVID-19 situation. Who's going to make a healthcare decision for you? Do you want to be kept alive if there's no hope for recovery? What if everyone in your family is arguing about what to do? If you already have an advanced healthcare directive in place, the person in the number one spot will have the final say. A long time ago, there was a case called the Terry Schiavo case where a lady was in a coma, and then mom was saying, keep keep her alive. And husband was like, no, she wanted to go naturally, and don't keep her alive with all those machines. Well, if you had an advanced healthcare directive, you would designate who's going to make that decision. It avoids fights. We also provide what's called a HIPAA authorization. Especially what it is the hospitals are so strict about releasing information that if you do an authorization in advance, the doctors can talk to your agents. Really important if you are single, maybe you don't have a spouse or children. Who's going to make a decision for you? Who can they talk with? In California, there's no such thing as a common law marriage. And so if you have a long-term boyfriend or girlfriend, maybe give them this authority so they can act for you. And of course, a living will. Some people are very strong belief that if something happens to me and there's no hope for recovery, I want to go naturally. I don't want all those machines to keep me alive. So that's what the living will is. And if you sign that, your agent will know, okay, this is what she would have wanted. It really alleviates any kind of burden or guilt if they have to make a tough choice like that. Next document. Okay, so issues and not planning. If you don't plan ahead, obviously your wishes are not in writing. Who's going to inherit your property? Spouse, your children? Who's going to manage? What if your child is 18? Can they handle getting everything? What if you have minor children? It might be in a guardianship because they can't receive money until they're over 18. What if you want one child to have something and not the other? What if you have separate property? Who can access the bank accounts? All of these questions, if those documents are not there to answer them, the court will have to answer them. And so you can see why getting your documents in place and having them be correct and proper to ask your wishes is really important, especially at this time, but really anyone who owns real property, because that's a significant asset. Anyone who has minor children, you do want to name their guardians. And of course, anyone over 18, really good to have that document in place. All right, next document. All right, so that concludes my estate planning. Very basic presentation. If you do have any specific questions, please let me know or type it in the chat box. And now I'm going to throw it over to Annette, and she'll be discussing Medicare options.
Thank you so much, Sophia. Hello, everybody. Once again, my name is Annette Murillo, and I am a co-owner of Hedka Group Insurance Services. And today we're going to be talking about just the basics of Medicare options. So what is Medicare? So Medicare is federal health insurance for those who are 65 and over. And it could be for those who are under 65 who are disabled or have ESRD and have been receiving Social Security for at least 24 months. You do have to be a US citizen or a legal resident, and you have to live here in the United States for at least 5 consecutive years. So let's say you already received your Medicare card or you are about to turn 65. So you're thinking, okay, I know I'm supposed to do this thing where I'm supposed to apply, but when do I apply? The initial enrollment period is 7 months. So it's going to be 3 months before your 65th birthday, your month of, and 3 months after. Now, if you pass this initial enrollment period, then you are going to be subject to a penalty. Now, there are different ways to avoid the penalty. For example, if you're still employed and you have coverage through your employer, then you're not subject to the penalty because you already have coverage. So this is if you have covered California or you're not insured or you have a private plan with your family and you're turning 65, this is where you have to come into this initial enrollment period to avoid any penalties. So now that you have this card, you went to Social Security or you called Medicare or you went to socialsecurity.gov and you applied for your Part A and your Part B, which is your original Medicare. You received the card. What next? What are my options? Is this it? Well, you have some options here. So it's important to understand the 4 different parts of Medicare. So Part A and Part B are what's called original Medicare. It's that red, white, and blue card. And Part A covers hospital. It does have deductibles and it does have co-insurance. Now, a deductible is the amount that you have to pay up to before your insurance kicks in. Co-insurance is a percentage that you have to pay out of pocket. in order for your insurance to cover you. Part B is doctor and medical coverage. Also has a deductible. It has a premium, which means it has a monthly amount that you have to continue to pay. And it is subject to a late enrollment period if you are out of that 7-month initial. Your Part C plan and your Part D, those are offered by private insurance companies, and those are where you decide which is going to be best for you. So your original Medicare, the red, white, and blue card. So we talked about Part A that covers hospital and your Part B that covers medical. Now, many people may say, well, I think that's enough. You know, I'm really healthy. I don't really go to the doctor. You know, I don't really go to the hospital. But for example, the situation that we're in now with COVID-19, you may have an emergency and you go into the hospital for an indefinite amount of time. With original Medicare, this only covers 80% of coverage, and you're responsible for 20%. And there's no max out of pocket. Max out of pocket means that there's no end amount. There's no cap. So you can keep paying that 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, and that can come into thousands or even higher, upper thousands. As you can see too, there's no prescription drug coverage here in original Medicare. So now you're thinking, okay, well, what if I do want to max out of pocket? And what if I do want prescription drugs? What do I do? So now you come into your options here. So your Medicare supplement plan works with your original Medicare, and you get to purchase a plan where now you have a max out of pocket, and now you have additional benefits. Now you're able to have a plan where you're like, okay, I know where I can go. You know, many hospitals that I want to go to don't work with any HMO plans. So this is where the Medicare supplement can come into play. But you also have to purchase a prescription drug plan. So this is for clients who have had a hospital, a doctor, a specialist who they had for years, or perhaps they are in chemotherapy, or maybe they have a chronic condition that they simply don't want to leave that care. So the original Medicare and purchasing a Medicare supplement and a Part D plan, which is also called PDP, prescription drug plan, this could be an option. Now you still have to pay your Part B. How much is Part B? Well, it depends on the year. This year it's $145 a month. You do have to continue to pay that. So if you already have received, or if you're already receiving your Social Security benefits, then this will automatically be taken out of your Social Security check. If you're, let's say you're still working, but you decided to get into Medicare, then Medicare will send you a bill for 3 months in advance. So you'll get that bill for $400 and something every quarter that you have to continue to pay. Your Medicare supplement, depending on the insurance plan that you choose, can vary from low hundreds to upper to a little bit higher than maybe $200 or $300. It depends on your age. And if it's your first time, you're not subject to underwriting. But if, let's say, you decide to choose a Medicare supplement plan in your 70s, then you may be subject to underwriting. And next option would be your Medicare Advantage plan, also called a Part C. So a lot of clients call our office who are already in a Medicare Advantage plan, and they tell us, you know what, I've been hearing a lot on the radio or on TV that I need to get a Part C because it's more complete. It has additional options and benefits. And, you know, I explained to them that the Medicare Advantage plan that they're in is a Part C. What Part C means is that it combines your Part A, which is your hospital coverage, your Part B, which is your doctor coverage, and your Part D, which is your medication coverage, into one single plan. These plans can be HMO or PPOs. And the major difference between an HMO and a PPO plan is that an HMO has a narrow network. What does that mean? It means that you have to choose a primary care doctor. You have to choose that one doctor that you have to go see in order for you to see a specialist. PPO plans don't work like that. You can go directly to your specialist. Now, in the Medicare Advantage plans here in LA and Orange County, we are fortunate that we have a very competitive market where there's a lot of HMO plans that are offered at $0 a month. The PPO plans, they do have a monthly premium. There is one available in LA County and two available in Orange County. If you want to know the premiums, please let me know, and I can definitely let you know the premiums amount. Now, if you want to go with this option, this is definitely the most affordable option. So if you are, thinking about retirement and you're thinking about how you can maximize your current monthly income, this may be a good option for you. It's even better if we know who your doctors are, your specialists, your medications, and the hospitals that you desire to continue to go to in order for us to see if a Medicare Advantage plan would be the best for you. Great thing about Medicare Advantage plans, there's no underwriting. So it doesn't matter if you have a chronic condition, if you have cancer, if you have diabetes, heart issues, etc. There's a lot of plans that do cater to certain chronic conditions. Another great thing about Medicare Advantage plans, there's low or no co-pays. And it does offer maximum out of pocket and offers additional benefits, just like your Medicare supplement plans, like we learned in the slide before. What are these additional benefits? Depends on the plan, but they could be benefits like free gym membership pass. There's items that you can get an allowance for glasses, for dental work, for items over the counter at CVS and Walmart. So different items, just depends on the health plan. So a lot of clients ask me, okay, this is great information, but what's going to be my best option? So that's the benefit of working with a licensed independent agent, is that we really help you identify what's the best option based on your needs. So we don't work for one single health plan where we say, yeah, this is going to be the best plan for you because, I have to hit a sales quota. That's not the case with us. So because we're independent, we really look and research which is going to be the most affordable option for you based on your medications, based on the doctors that you need in your network, based on the specialist, based on the hospital. Then we'll make the professional recommendation after we have a full consultation with you. So all of our consultations are at no cost. And I know a lot of clients say, well, how do you eat? Well, yes, we do get compensated, but the insurance company compensates us. They're all the same, so that's why we don't have a preference. So technically, we work for the client. So our main priority is for our client to be happy, our client to feel comfortable with their decision. And what our main job is to help our client navigate through this, what can seem an overwhelming process. So let's meet. So you can make an appointment to enroll on time. Again, you have your initial enrollment period for 7 months. It's 3 months before you turn 65, the month of, and 3 months after. Now, let's say if you're over 65 or somebody who's over 65 and they're still working, but they're thinking about retiring and leaving their employer health plan, and they're thinking about Medicare, that's also a really great time to meet with me, because then I'm able to help them navigate through that process, how to do that to avoid that penalty. Again, my name is Annette Murillo. I am co-owner of Hedka Group Insurance Services in the city of Bell. We have a full staff that speaks both Spanish and English, and we are taking appointments now through phone, through email, and through Zoom. We usually have our appointments face-to-face with our seniors, either at our office or at their home, but with the situation that's going on right now, we are trying to take as much precautions as we can. So we are practicing social distancing, but we are available via phone, email, and Zoom for any questions. All right, so Does anybody have any questions for us? I know that was a lot of information. If you do, you can either write them in the chat box. If you know of anybody who would benefit from this presentation, we do have the slides available after our Zoom call or webinar. And you can either call us here at this number, or you can email us at this email and we can send that to you. We'd be very appreciative to give all this information, valuable information, to your friends, your family, your clients, neighbors, and anyone you feel that would benefit from this. Sophia, anything else you want to add?
Well, I just had a question for you, Annette. You said that if you do have the Medicare, then they take out $145 a month.
Yes.
But if you decide to do the private insurance, like the HMO or the supplemental insurance, then do they not take the $145 out, or how does that work?
They do. So let me go back to that slide here. So for your Part C plan, so your Part A, for the most part, it's if you've paid into your taxes, into your Social Security taxes for at least 40 quarters, which is equivalent to 10 years, for the most part, you won't have a monthly premium. However, we all have a Part B premium. Depending on your income, if you file under $80,000 a year, then that premium is going to be single, and then so that's double the 160 if you are married filing together jointly. You will have that 145 that will be taken out of your Social Security check, or that will be sent to you every 3 months. But yeah, in order for you to be in a Part C, which is the Medicare Advantage plan, you are required to continue paying your Part B. As you can see on this slide here, because it combines your Part A and your Part B, you are required to have that active. I know a lot of clients, especially in our community, in my community, they say, well, you know, I don't really feel the need that I have to have that part active because I'd rather keep the $145 a month. Totally get it. However, there are many, many federal programs available. If the client is under a certain income threshold, there are many programs that help pay that Part B if they can't afford to pay for it. So again, the Medicare Advantage plan is going to be the most affordable options, especially those who have Medi-Cal. So Medicare and Medi-Cal, totally different. Medicare is for 65 and over for seniors. Medi-Cal is for those who are under an income threshold. So a lot of seniors have both, or they could have both. So when you have both, then you have the opportunity to choose from plans that work with both your Medicare and your Medi-Cal. And when you have both, if you have Medi-Cal with no share of costs, which means that you are, below an additional threshold, then you'll be able to get additional benefits like the federal subsidy that I was mentioning about the Part B. So there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to Medicare and Medicare options. So that's why it's always advised to meet with a licensed independent agent, just so we can explain all of these benefits to the client. That was a great question. Thanks, Sophia.
All right, great. Well, I think there are no questions. So just want to thank everyone again for participating. We'll make this available in either video or PDF, and we'd love to hear your feedback. And stay tuned for future webinars as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day. Again, if you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them. I'm going to leave the screen on for a few minutes in case you have any questions, any feedback. We really appreciate it. Thank you.